Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Pop Talk. Didn't work the way I wanted to, but that's fine. I'm Sean. Welcome back, guys. I am joined by Soul. How's it going, Soul?
Pretty good. Been working on my garden this morning. Watched the Tot- Tottenham Sheffield United game this morning as well. So, been a pretty good day so far.
All right, all right. Also joined by across the pond, Bogz. How's it going?
Yes, good. Thank you very much. We've obviously just come off by the time of this recording, a live show that we done last night, which is really fun on the Ultimate Shredder Show YouTube page. Check that out. So feeling good, man. I mean, gonna get into this stuff, then do a WandaVision review, and then we have the High Ground episode coming this week, which we're excited for. But so remind me, what's the word for female librarian?
Bibliotecaria.
Yes, that's it. I was meant to call you that at the start, but I forgot to say. My bad.
It's a mouthful. It's a mouthful.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that would be her name though. I don't know. I get it, but I don't know. Soul doesn't scream librarian to me. She just because she has a lot of books, doesn't she? Doesn't scream a librarian.
But when we're talking about something, and she can literally just go, "Oh, you mean this?" and then have the book. That's quite a good, quite a good gimmick.
Oh yeah. But
I was asking earlier today, and tell me in the comments down below. I'm giving you guys a challenge who are watching. I need to pick a Premier League team because I watch the Premier League, but I don't have a team. So tell me which team I should follow, so that way I have someone to root for and cheer on, and for the league. So let me know in the comments down below.
Man U and
Definitely not.
oh my
For Man U.
Jesus.
We'll do a vote.
Because their partnership with the Yankees, I think they're oh, here we go with this thing. I don't know what I do to you. Well, here we go. Anyways, let's just kind of jump into the first main story, which is basically Chris Evans returning to the MCU in some vague way. So Deadline kind of broke this story that the MCU and Chris Evans are kind of working on a deal for him potentially coming back. Now, the reports were saying that it's not him necessarily coming back to star in another Captain America movie. It sounds more or less like he might be coming back to do a small role or anywhere between a cameo and a small role in another Avengers movie, which kind of makes sense, kind of doesn't, considering where we left the main timeline's Cap. He's an old man now, so he's probably more worried about the early bird special at this point than kicking ass. But who knows? The multiverse might be coming into play. Maybe they meet a different Cap. Who knows? Bogz, I'll start with you. What do you when you hear about this story news? Are you excited that he might be coming back? Are you like, nah, we got a good ending of him? What are your thoughts about potentially him coming back?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, he is probably my favorite Avenger. So yes, overall, I am excited. Even though his story was seemingly done in Endgame, which is like a year and a half ago now. It was released. But yeah, I mean, you're right. It was very vague. There were kind of reports were, so we don't know if it's kind of what timeline, what kind of era it is in. So I was thinking maybe he could appear as like old man Cap in, the Falcon and Winter Soldier, because he's alive, right? He's not actually dead. So like in the story, in the kind of current events and stuff. So he could do that. I was thinking maybe Doctor Strange too. He could make an appearance somehow, some way. Because also Robert Downey Jr. is also rumored to be back as well in some way, somehow. So we'll see. Yeah, it's just that because in Endgame, it always struck something with me before we saw him as old man kind of Cap, the way he kind of had the stones and everything in the suitcase, and the way he just kind of came back a second later. I thought, oh, surely we're going to get that story at some point. Like, what was he doing kind of with the suitcase and stuff? So them kind of missions. So I would have liked to have seen them. I still want to see them. But yeah, I don't think he will get like another movie or anything. I'm sure it will be like cameos, use him sparingly. But with I mentioned last week that Kevin Feige is like a G basically. So I can pretty trust him pretty well with this, and whereabouts kind of they'll find a genuine, authentic way to do it, rather than just give him his next movie kind of thing. So yes, I'm interested. But also, like, obviously the messages that Captain America brings and things like that, it's like he's like a bit of a symbol. I think a lot of the things with what's going on in the world right now, a lot of American politics, it'd be nice to see him back kind of thing. Also with just the whole Hollywood industry going at the moment, no movies in theaters, things like that. I think him being a bit of a symbol with this, I think that strikes a bit of a chord with people. So yes, the answer to your question is yes. I'm kind of happy to see him back in some way.
Yeah, America needs Captain America more so than ever. Unfortunately, we saw the shield and his symbol at the Capitol riots, and people were just like, Captain America would never be for this kind of stuff. Like, let's hold back on that.
Okay.
But Bogz, you bring up an interesting point. Like when he took the stones in Endgame, when you started to really think about like that's a Disney Plus miniseries right there, because like how did he get the Soul Stone back? Like all that like did he actually have to talk to the Red Skull? Yeah, absolutely. You could do 6 episodes of him returning each stone, or maybe even 7, and then him making the decision to like go back and meet Peggy, and kind of like what that kind of dialogue was like. Maybe did she want him to do that? Or did like that would be fascinating. I don't know if they would ever do that, but the moment you said that, I was like, please sign me up. I want that. Because I thought about that, but I was like, the more you bring it up, I was like, yep, that's what I want. So Soul, you hear this news, your thoughts?
So I have 2 ways that I would like him to come back, and then a few other ways that it's a wait and see, but in Kevin Feige we trust. So the 2 ways, I would love it to be like in Homecoming, Spider-Man Homecoming, where you had the videos of Cap like in the gym, like saying like, oh, stay in school, or the Cap saying, doing something like a sex ed thing, like abstinence or something like that, like doing those videos that were super funny in Homecoming, that you were like, oh, I didn't know that we were going to see Captain America in this movie. I think that would be hilarious to see in any. That could be in a Spider-Man movie, that could be in a Miss Marvel movie, because she is also in high school in New Jersey, so it would be funny to see that. The other way is Black Widow's dead, but we're getting a Black Widow movie. That movie is after Civil War. So if they do a movie that is set when Cap is during the other movies of the MCU, we can have Cap in there. And now just Bogz going about a little like short series of him taking the Infinity Stones back, I would love that. So something like that, those are what would make me excited for him being back. The others that are wait and see is it could be a multiverse thing. It could be an old man Cap, as Bogz was mentioning. It could be things along that line, because I know they're opening up the multiverse. They have a lot of plans. There's a lot of Spider-Mans that we might be seeing. Spider-Mans. So those are more of a wait and see, but I mean, if you don't trust Kevin Feige yet, when are you going to trust him? Because he has done such a phenomenal job with the MCU so far.
Yeah, I think we do trust him. I think it's just a matter of what this like this for me. I like because I love the way that Cap got his happy ending with Peggy at the Endgame. Spoiler: if you haven't seen Endgame at this point, you're watching a channel like this. I don't know what to tell you. So I like the fact that he had his moment with Peggy, and that's like, even though Boggs right, he didn't die, but like that for me, a lot of it was like, yep, I don't need to see Cap anymore. Like all this is really nice, and I would like to see it, but do I want to see it? I don't know. So, like the Spider-Man Homecoming things, like that's cool because you could even use it as old man. Like they could have easily just transitioned like old man Cap to kind of how he was in the war days, where he's just like a symbol now, a talking piece, where he could just be promoting like good health or staying in school, that kind of stuff as an older like band now. So stuff like that would be cool. That'd be nice to like little funny things. But I'm pretty sure this story, if it ends up being true, is more or less going to be like he's going to be part of an Avengers movie or something like or somebody's movie in a semi big way. And I don't know. Like if it were up to me, obviously it's not. It's either Soul's thing of the small little cameos in Spider-Man and like all the high school movies, or it's Bogz things with the miniseries about the Infinity Stones. Other than that, I'm like, do I need to see Cap in an Avengers movie? Not really. Not really. Especially if he's gonna be old. I mean, dropping some wisdom, maybe that's cool. Because he wasn't originally supposed to play the old Cap anyway. That's just something that just I think they did out of necessity. But something like that would, I guess, it'd be kind of okay. But I don't know. As long as it makes sense story wise, sure, why not? But
And I mean,
yeah.
you see it in the comic books all the time. The comic book characters are killed off and then brought back, and killed off and brought back because you still need those characters to sell the comics. So, it, for being close to the comics in any way here with the MCU, that's something that we could be seeing. And I know that that kind of takes the death out of some of the characters out. Like, I really hope that Black Widow's death is Black Widow's death, and then that's it, because that was very emotional and she had her story end, and it's sad that her story ended before she could have her own solo movie and that we're finally getting it after her death, but it's in when she was still alive. But I think that there's some characters that shouldn't be brought back just to show that death can be permanent, but as we've seen in the comics, like, death is never really permanent. They always end up coming back.
Yeah, and I think, well, but you're right. But the MCU is, I think, they have to make sure that there are consequences. And I think with Black Widow, there are going to be, because they pretty much already have her, not a replacement, the person who's going to carry the torch moving forward, with Florence Pugh, so with her character.
Yelena.
Because we already know she's going to be in. Oh, jeez, I can't remember what property they said she was going to move on to, but like we already know she's moving forward, so obviously she's going to be the new Black Widow. If they may not call her that, but we know she's going to get replaced. And then with Cap, though, the interesting thing with him, unlike Tony, we saw Tony die, so you have to really come up with some concoction to figure out a way to bring him back, because I think the multiverse thing is going to be something that breaks and then they fix in Doctor Strange. So I don't think it's going to be a long going, well, this is just my opinion, a long going thing of like, oh, the multiverse is broken. I think Wanda's going to break it. Trust me, we'll get into Wanda. And then there's going to be ramifications in Spider-Man and in Doctor Strange. But I don't know if it's going to have hey, we're going to have to deal with the multiverse thing for movies at a time. So I don't know. Last words on this Bogz, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, just pretty much like you're definitely right, Saul. Like, they bring people back all the time in comic books, and don't forget, it is a comic book movie. Yes, we obviously have the believability factors. That's kind of that's modern. That's like the film audience side talking, which I want as well. But bear in mind, yeah, like I said, it is comic book movies. But yeah, what way, I don't know. It has to be authentic to the story, like you said, Sean. And yeah, I mean, I've always kind of wondered. Yeah, he did have a great kind of ending in Endgame, even though he didn't die. But like, obviously the story end. But yeah, like, I kind of want to see what happened with Infinity Stones and everything. So if we get some allusion to that, that'd be great. But yes, I am overall quite happy to see him back in some variation.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, I love Chris Evans. He is my favorite Marvel character, hands down. So if you're gonna, like, I didn't want it, but if you're gonna give it to me, I'm like, oh, we're getting another Chris Evans. Oh,
pretty much. Yeah.
And then if Robert Downey Jr. comes back, I want him to be the voice, the Jarvis for Riri Williams.
I always like, when me and Alex did our predictions of Endgame, I predicted that like Tony would die, and we both got that right, but that he would end up being the voice in Peter's suit. So if he's end up the voice in Ironheart suit or Iron Lad suit or whatever Iron suit,
Iron
I
something.
think that yeah, iron something. I think that's good, especially like if his daughter ends up doing it at some point. Which would it surprise me if they go down that road at some point? It would not surprise me. She'd take Pepper's suit. I think that would be a good way to bring him back. I don't need to see him. That's a good way to bring him back without him, betraying what we saw in Endgame. But yeah, him being a voice of a suit would make perfect sense. All right, that's cool. So let's move on to our next story, which is going to be Godzilla versus Kong. So obviously, there's been a lot of news in the Warner Brothers camp of things, with them deciding last year to we're like, hey, all of our 2021 movies are going to go straight to HBO Max and do day and date with movie theaters. But in the United States, a lot of movie theaters are unfortunately closed, so pretty much it's just HBO Max. So Godzilla versus Kong was supposed to come out in May. Now, for some strange reason, it's getting bumped up to March. And obviously, WB also had some problems with Legendary about like Legendary not being told about them going to HBO Max, and Legendary put up a lot of the money for Kong versus Godzilla versus Kong. So there's a lot of behind the scenes curtain of these two corporations duking it out for this movie. So you hear about all this. What's your thought process of us getting this movie a couple of months early?
So, as I've stated before, I've only seen the first Godzilla movie. I have not seen the King Kong one, and I have not seen the second Godzilla. So, this is one that I guess now that it's coming to HBO Max, I'll probably watch it. It's not one that I would pay to go see because I haven't seen the other ones. Although, like, honestly, if you're seeing a monster fight, it would probably be cooler to see it in the theaters, but I'll probably just be watching it at home.
Like, look at this. You don't want to see this in IMAX? Look at this.
I
I
mean,
do.
it'd be cool. Maybe like just go to IMAX for another movie, but show like a little teaser of this and show that fight before the other movie. Maybe I would do that.
Oh, like if this was regular times, I'm sure we would have gotten like a little clip or scene before another movie in IMAX of like, hey, this is coming to IMAX.
Like
So
the Tenet clip.
yeah, something like yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because they did something like, if I remember right, they did that for Godzilla versus and the King of Monsters. If I remember correctly, I think so. But anyways, I did like the first Godzilla because I thought they cut away from him too much. Godzilla versus and the King of Monsters, I really really enjoyed because we got a lot of Godzilla. Would I like more of him? Yes, but we got enough of him where I was just like, this is a good old time. So to see him fight Kong, like, I mean, we talked about this when we talked about this story initially. I want to see something like that in the theaters. Them bumping it up pretty much squashes that. So, I mean, I'll have to watch it on HBO Max. It is what it is. Boggs, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think we have spoke about it before when kind of our most anticipated, I think, movies for 2021, right? From the HBO Max slate. And I didn't say this, and in hindsight, I wish I did, because I've actually watched both of them again. I saw them both in theaters, and I've watched them again at home. I've really liked them, especially the first Godzilla. I liked
Yeah.
them in the theaters, but I like them more now. So definitely looking forward to this. The actually shows you like a mini trailer as well. So that picture that you're showing there isn't kind of the most HD great picture, but
Yeah.
the actual coloring and the texture of it, it looks fantastic. Like the thing for me that is being moved up from May to March, so it is coming out in a couple of months. So I would have liked to seen a trailer for a March release. Now I'm thinking, where the hell's a trailer for the May release? I would like, where the hell's the trailer for a March release? So it's coming out mid-January now. It's probably coming out within 2 months. I need a trailer. Like, this looks great to me. I'm in. Like, effects look fantastic. Like I said, with the background, with different locations. Yeah, like I think the Kong looks a bit bigger than he does in the actual movies, but that's like a side thing. But that's why I was actually really excited for Gareth Edwards being announced as the Rogue One director, because I quite liked the original, obviously the first Godzilla movie. I was like, oh, this guy, he can do scale, and it's about the Death Star and things like that. So I was really excited for it. But yeah, overall, I wasn't surprised about the movie because HBO, I'm quite looking forward to their kind of slate of releases, and I'm assuming, I don't know the exact release dates, but I'm assuming they're quite stacked in May. You know, it's the start of summer, so they've moved it forward. But yeah, my biggest thing is I want a trailer. Like, you know, I'm in. It looks good. If it's a home watch, it's a home watch. But you know, I particularly like the first one. I quite like that they only really show Kong in the last maybe third of the movie. They just kind of tease him. They cut away, maybe show like his tail or like, you know, like his eye, that kind of thing. But I quite like the other monsters in the first one. So yes, definitely looking forward to it. And yes, I need a trailer big time.
They definitely took the Jaws approach of not showing the monster, not showing the shark.
Yeah, building up, teasing.
Yeah, but the thing with Jaws is that was by accident. In this movie, in the first Godzilla movie, that was on purpose. So to me, it was just more of a detriment. But they made up for it in the second Godzilla movie. And Bogz, I 1,000% agree with you. It's coming out March 26th, so that's almost 2 months from now, and we haven't really seen anything. Nothing. I mean, they HBO Max kind of had like a scissor reel of stuff, and we kind of saw a little glimpse of it there. But it's like, no, at this point, the smart thing to do is like once you announce you're moving it up, boom, we get the trailer.
Yeah.
Do we need a full trailer at this point? No. I mean, if you want to give us a teaser trailer,
I mean, it's close, so.
Yeah, I know, but we need. I think this announcement should have been tied to a trailer.
Yeah,
because or even the poster, which usually in regular times you drop the poster, next day you drop the trailer. So it's kind of weird that they didn't do that, to be honest, considering that you make a move when it really is like the theater side of it's not really a main issue, especially in the United States. Most of us are seeing this thing on HBO Max. Let's just be real. Same thing with Wonder Woman. The majority of people who saw it on HBO Max. So why aren't you dropping the trailer? There's no reason not to at this point. So I am really excited to see this thing.
I was searching for it when the news dropped and the images dropped, and then they show it's literally a 3-second clip of like Kong punching Godzilla, like him striking first kind of thing. Yeah. And then like Godzilla like kind of hits like some kind of submarine with his tail. It looks great. I'm like, okay, like where's the rest of it? Like, you know, what's going on? It's coming out in 2 months. Like, yeah, so I definitely am. And even though hopefully in the UK they sort something out, but you know, still technically here, I haven't seen Wonder Woman. I haven't seen Wonder Woman 84. It's not released on any platform anywhere. Not even in fact, I'll tell you, like this weekend it was released on like a Sky box office type thing. So it was released now, but you know, that's like a month after you guys have seen it. So yeah, even though we might watch it later or another time, I still want to see it. You know, I'd buy it or whatever. So yes, I'm very much looking forward to the trailer.
Yeah, Warner Brothers has not Warner Brothers has not done a good job with this HBO Max slate 2021 stuff, because you brought up Bogz, like you didn't see Wonder Woman, you couldn't see Wonder Woman, and the fact that, you know, piracy is still a major problem. I'm sure as soon as it dropped in America, a lot of other places it just got pirated all over the place. So that's a big problem. Like that's always going to be an issue, but you got to make sure you give the people an opportunity. Like, hey, it's available. You do it. You make the decision. Especially like in the United States, if I want to watch in America, I know where I can watch it legally. But for you didn't have that option.
Yeah, it's like it's almost forcing my hand to, you know, I can get a pirate copy like that, but you know, give me the option and I'll pay for it. But if you're not going to, then you know, then.
And then also for our Canadian friends, it was at the $30 price point if they wanted to watch it. In Canada, and so it was doing that same price point that Mulan was at with Disney Plus, and so some people might not want to pay that $30, because I know that was the big hubbub when they were like, "Oh, we're gonna have Mulan for $30," and people got very angry with that. So it's the fact too that like there are neighbors to the north, and they had no chance of watching Wonder Woman unless they paid $30.
Yeah, and considering that, like I didn't like that whole like plus premium stuff, because like especially with Mulan, like you want me to pay this amount now, but then if I just wait, and I'm already a Disney Plus subscriber, but if I wait a couple of months, I can watch for free. I was like, what do you think I'm going to do? Right. Now, if you did that with Black Widow or something like that, I was like, oh, I gotta do it. because I wouldn't want a movie like that spoiled for me. Hopefully that doesn't happen because there's starting to be rumblings that they might move to Disney Plus because May's not looking as good now. So we'll
Sean, I'm
see.
gonna
We'll
need you
see
to
what
knock
happens.
on some wood right now so that doesn't happen.
No, my desk is made out of glass, so that's not going to help. But
Not yet.
yeah, but I we'll see where that goes. But I don't want a premium thing. If you're just going to drop it on Disney Plus, just drop it. I mean, you don't make us pay more than what we need
Ideally,
to. It's stupid. I mean, because that's another that would be another incentive to get Disney to get their numbers up. It's like, hey, you want to watch Black Widow? It's on me and Disney Plus.
Kind of in the
So
same vein, though, what they did with Hamilton. How many numbers of people came to Disney Plus just to watch Hamilton?
yeah, and then like, oh, I like what, and then stick around.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got the Mandalorian coming out. You got all these Disney shows coming. The Marvel shows coming out this year.
Yeah.
Like obviously don't want it to happen, but it is what it is. COVID's not doesn't care about anybody's feelings. If they got to put on Disney Plus, they have to. They can't keep pushing this thing. They just can't.
Yeah.
They pushed it almost a year already. So at this point, it just has to come out because there's ramifications in that movie of things going forward. So it is. I mean, it is what it is. I'm sure we're going to be talking about that at some point, whether it gets moved or it stays in May and it just comes out on Disney Plus or it comes out in theaters. We're definitely going to be discussing this at some point. But I'm just I just want to go back to the theater. That's all I want, really. Damn it, COVID! Just get out of our lives
Eventually.
already.
Eventually.
Yeah, eventually. Yeah, eventually. I just want to go. I miss popcorn and big screen and nice sound and comfy chairs. I miss that stuff. Anyway, any last thoughts on Godzilla versus Kong? So,
No,
Boggs.
never.
No, I'm in. I'm in. Yeah, just give us a trailer, and yeah, I'll be in.
All right, I agree. All right, moving on to our next topic, and then it's all WandaVision after that. Is Ethan Hawke joins the Moon Knight series for Disney Plus. So we're starting to get a little bit more information about the Moon Knight series. Obviously, we know Oscar Isaac is playing Moon Knight, and now news drops that Ethan Hawke is going to be cast. They didn't announce who he's playing, but the reports are pretty much saying he's playing the main villain. So again, we don't know who that is, but the idea of like the MCU has been going on for all this time, and yet they're still getting these big names. You're just like, are they gonna still be getting big names? They keep fighting big names that they need to get, and the fact that we're on this show, like who pretty much Moon Knight is like the Batman of the MCU. That we're having Oscar Isaac, we're gonna have Ethan Hawke. I love Ethan Hawke. He's a great actor. He's been in great movies. To see him part of this, it's just a great get. So I'm looking forward to this show. They probably might start shooting this thing sometime late this year, and it'll probably come out sometime next year. But so your thoughts of you hearing Ethan Hawke joining Moon Knight, and who do you think? Do you have any speculation on who he might be playing? What are your thoughts?
So it's always exciting to get cast news about shows that you're looking forward to. So I think that him and Oscar Isaac are going to be playing really well off of each other. They're both phenomenal actors, and I think that he might be playing Bushman, is my guess.
Okay. All
'Cause he's
right.
one of the main villains for Moon Knight, so I'm thinking that's where it's going. I was right with the Gore the God Butcher, so I hope I'm right with this as well.
You were definitely right. That was floating around, but you definitely got that right. I at this point, the thing that I like about the MCU, they've gotten enough money in the bank where they don't necessarily have to tie every hero to their main villain. Like with Shang-Chi, the Mandarin's going to be in there. The Mandarin is more or less one of Tony's main villains because the whole Iron Man 3 debacle. They're finally bringing him back in, so I'd be cool with that. But I would also wouldn't mind them shaking things up a bit. So I mean, either way, I'm not. I don't. At this point, it's like give me whoever. I don't care. Ethan Hawke, give me whoever. I don't care. Boggs, you hear this news? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've mentioned it before. I'm not too familiar with Moon Knight, to be honest. I guess I've just missed it growing up in terms of comic book stuff. But
That's Moon Knight.
I don't know the character names of the villains, so doesn't. I know he's obviously like the MCU or Marvel's Batman, but that doesn't really mean much to me. Like I said, not there was no animation of it as far as I remember, so didn't read the comics, so I'm kind of missed that. But Ethan Hawke, I've definitely got a soft spot for him. Just kind of grown up around kind of the late 90s, early 2000s. I watched every single one of his movies, like around Training Day, around that came out. There was like a aura about him. I think me and Sean are kind of similar age, so I think that he just seemed like one of the most coolest actors in the world. His style and everything. So yeah, I love like Training Day. Gattaca was a good one, a sci-fi one. The before
Love Gattaca.
I love
He's
Gattaca.
famous for. Yeah, Tape was like the movie before Training Day. If you ever watched that, it's just him and Uma Thurman in like a hotel room, just talking about they're a couple, but they saw out a lot of kind of dramatic stuff in the room. That's awesome as well, really intense. But yeah, I put him in like the category with like a Sam Rockwell kind of thing. Even though kind of Sam Rockwell is kind of more, I'd say.
I can agree
Oscar.
with that. I can agree with that.
He's more hot at the minute, obviously. Sam Rockwell, talent worthy wise, in terms of accolades and things like that. But he definitely got that dynamic kind of energy about him. Great casting, I thought, because as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I might need to watch some Ethan Hawke stuff, that kind of thing. So yeah, he's definitely one I've always kind of secretly watched and kept my eye on. So yes, good casting announcement for me.
I also I'm hoping he's playing a villain because we really haven't seen him do that a lot. So I like that idea, and I agree with you, Bogz. I loved him in all those movies. I always thought that, especially after Training Day, his career would go more upward. Like he'd be starring in a lot more things, but then that happened for a little bit. But then he kind of went more into supporting role, and I was just like, I don't know. He's got the charisma and the talent to be starring in more things. So I mean, he's been starring a lot of independent stuff. But would it ever surprise me if Ethan Hawke was cast in some major, like even in an MCU role? It wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. If you took out Moon Knight and you put in like any of the upcoming movies and say, oh, he's the main villain in Blade or whatever, I'd be like, yeah, okay, yeah, absolutely. So I mean, not to poo Moon Knight or Disney Plus, but I just thought especially after seeing Training Day, it's like before Training Day, after Training Day.
Yeah, he's like a legend. After that
oh yeah, like that performance in Training Day, especially with right next to Denzel, who won an Oscar for that. It's just like that movie. Yeah. Well, yeah, and rightfully so. So.
It was awesome.
I just thought it was just going to be a launching pad for him, but not so much. And maybe who knows? Maybe he didn't. He probably offered a lot of stuff and turned a lot of that stuff down. Who knows? We never know. Like actors are weird. Like Josh Hartnett got offered every superhero movie known to man and turned it all down. And look where he is now. So I mean, it's hard to know all these things because we're not in the know as much. But just the fact that the MCU just keeps finding great talent for all their projects. Just when you think like, oh, they got a lot of big names. Who else they gonna get? They just keep adding and adding talent. So in Feige we trust, and it just seems like the actors are doing that because this can easily just be a one and done. Especially when you're a villain in the MCU, it can easily just be like if you're a movie, it's one and done, or in a series, this could be like he's in it and then that's it. So it just goes to show you that this must be a nice juicy role for him to sink his teeth in for 8 or 10 episodes or whatever, how long the series is going to be. So, yeah, Kevin Feige is just, he's won our hearts. Yeah.
And MCU has revitalized people's career, the biggest name, Robert Downey Jr. So this could be a launching pad for him to revitalize his career and be more in the spotlight for people to know him and maybe go back to see Training Day or Gattaca and see his movies if they haven't, so to see how much of a phenomenal actor he is.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because he was in Boyhood and all these things. Boyhood,
nominated.
Yeah, he's like That's fine. He deserves. I shouldn't say better. He just deserves more of the limelight in these like A-list, blockbuster type movies. He's got the chops.
Definitely.
So I don't know, but that's just me. But just the fact that they're adding great talent to this show, along with all their shows, just goes to show you that Feige's a G. This series is probably gonna be amazing when we watch it at some point next year. It's like, oh, we gotta wait till next year. Oh man, it is what it is. But we got a lot of shows to. It's a good segue into our main conversation, WandaVision. So the first two episodes of WandaVision dropped on Friday. I tried to stay up. I know Soul tried to stay up. So I'm on the West Coast. Soul's on the East Coast. So for me, it comes at midnight Friday morning. For her, it comes at 3 o'clock in the morning Friday morning. So I was like, do I want to stay up? But I have to go to work. So I did this. I decided to go to sleep early and wake up early and watch it before I had to go punch in for work. So that's what I did. And so we got the first two episodes. The critics got the first three episodes, which the next episode will drop for the rest of us on Friday. But Boggs, your overall thoughts of, and then we'll break down episode each one individually. But your overall thoughts of the first two episodes of WandaVision. And this is a spoiler alert if you haven't read.
Yes. Okay. Alert. No problem. So, yeah. So as I mentioned to you guys before, this is probably from this year's releases my least anticipated project, really, mainly because obviously we've been told a million times this kind of series will have bigger implications of the whole MCU. That's what I'm in for. But just what I've seen so far in terms of the trailer, how it looks, the kind of story that they're doing, I'm not too like edge of my seat stuff. So going into it, my expectations were not too high. I'll be honest, it was fine. That's it. Like I was, obviously it's got this whole, 50s, 60s, early 70s sitcom theme attached to it, like Bewitched. Obviously everyone's watched, and I Dream of Jeannie. Of course, everyone's watched and grown up on that. I got even maybe some Mork and Mindy vibes a little bit to it, even though that was a bit later. But yeah, like it was fine. Like it was a complete, like not a parody, but like a complete respect out of that genre and about them kind of older sitcoms. But in my head, right, the last time that we've seen Vision and Wanda, Thanos ripping the soul, is it the Mind Stone out of Vision's head, right, and killing him, and Wanda saying, taking everything from me and using all her powers against him. So for me, I want to see the continuation of that story, like now, and instead we're getting this sitcom thing. So I was watching it. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's a little bit funny. Obviously, there are a lot of references to other things that are going on. I did get some. I probably missed some as well. But overall, I was, to be honest, I was probably on my phone the whole time, like partly watching it. Like, okay, this is fine. But yeah, like probably my favorite thing was in the last couple of minutes of the second episode where they do that whole coloring thing where it changes from black and white to Vision changes from being the kind of sitcom guy to Vision. I love the whole kind of Disney element to it. It felt like an actual Disney kind of movie, from back in the day. And how it actually looked and the effects, I thought that was really good. That was my single favorite kind of thing in the two episodes. Yeah, and I obviously seen the kind of inklings or droplets of color that they do in the series, and I'm not 100% sure what they're referencing, but the Tony Stark, the Stark Industries kind of toaster. I saw that with the red light.
Yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Okay, but that's what I mean. Except for that, I've got nothing really else to add. You guys can expand on it. You guys will educate me on it. But I believe when she cut a hand as well, isn't it the red blood coming from her hand as well? So I kind of not 100% sure what the references are there. But overall, yeah, it was fine. I mean, probably I would have expected a little more from the first couple of episodes, but I actually wasn't expecting more. Like I said, I wasn't too massively excited about this, so it was fine. It wasn't bad at all. It's made really well. You can see where the budget's gone on it. The sets are great, that kind of thing. So reasonably entertained, but was I on the edge of my seat? No. I don't agree with all the kind of overly excited reviews and reactions for it. I didn't get that off this. It was okay. That was my kind of overall reaction to it. So
I mean, which is totally fine. But to answer your question about like what's up with Vision, Paul Bettany has already said that we'll get the answer. Your question will be answered.
I just
Good
don't want
things
it in there.
happen to those who wait. That's what
Yeah,
I was gonna
exactly.
say.
It's just
Yeah.
for me personally, I don't want it in the if there's 9 episodes, I don't want to get these answers in 8 or 9 episodes. I need it now because that was a slow start for me. So for me to keep watching this every week, if they drop one episode a week, I need it in the third or fourth episode, like something for me to like be, oh, okay, this is going on because we don't know. They're giving little teasers here and there. You guys can obviously expand on them, but for me, it just wasn't enough to be like, if it's like this for another 3, 4 episodes, I'm gonna be like, oh, okay, like it's not must watch television. Do you know what I mean? Like The Mandalorian was. This is the next Disney new series that we have. This is what I saw was okay. But yeah, that was my overall review anyway.
And what I hear from
Well,
the critics is
okay.
that the third episode is the one that's going to
Yes, yeah,
really
that's a
draw
good
you
point.
in. That
Mhm.
there's going to be some stuff that happened in the third. So I think you
Yeah,
might be getting what you want in the third
hopefully.
episode.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and but for me, I think the excitement of this series is obviously it's an MCU thing, so I think that alone just like gets people drawn in. But the fact that we're getting something like this and how well it was done and executed is for lack of a better word, a marvel in itself. Like the way that they shot in front of a live studio audience. They used old technology. They had Dick Van Dyke on set to kind of give them pointers and things like that. And just the way like Elizabeth Olsen. Let's just start there. She, I think, may have been born the wrong time because her performance in these first two episodes just made me think like if this was then, she could easily star in one of her own show and she could be the I Love Lucy of like she could easily start a show like that, and we would look back on it like, oh, remember Elizabeth Olsen? Oh, she was great in blah 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 show. Her timing especially for me in episode 2 where she's like when her and Vision are doing the magic show, her comedic timing and her mannerisms in that episode were just superb. So Elizabeth Olsen, I think, just really is showing her chops. Is like Olsen twins. Now forget about them. It's Elizabeth Olsen. That's the Olsen that we need to really focusing on going forward. Like forget her sisters. It's her. So, what are your overall thoughts, and especially Elizabeth Olsen?
I think that Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany were having so much fun, and you
Yeah.
can definitely see it watching it. And I really enjoyed it. It was like watching an old like sitcom. It was like watching Dick Van Dyke or I Love Lucy or I Dream of Jeannie, like all
Or
of
the
those.
honeymooners?
Yeah. And it was funny how like invested I got into the story that isn't the main like story that actually
The
like the
sitcom.
things you want to learn. Like in the sitcom, I was invested. I was like, oh, how is Elizabeth Olsen? How is Wanda going to cover up the magic show for Vision? How is Wanda going and Vision going to be doing this in the story? And I was like, wow, I'm not even thinking about some of the MCU implications right now. I'm just having fun watching an old sitcom that I used to watch on Nick at Night. So that was me. I was very enjoyable. And then when you did get those little hints of the MCU coming in, when you saw who is Monica Rambeau being there, and what was the name that she gave herself? I'm drawing a blank on it.
Um, Gloria, I think. No, that doesn't sound right.
It was with a G, but the
Yeah, it's
where
something
like
G.
they
Yeah.
were Wanda goes like, "Oh, what's your name?" and then like she takes a pause and then gives a name that is obviously not her name. And I was
Yeah.
just like, "Ooh, does Monica know that she's in this world, or is she in the same state as Wanda? Like, what's going on here?" And so it makes you think those little pops of colors as well that Boggs was talking about, where you're seeing red here and there, and just literally the last parts of episode 2, I will agree, are my favorite parts of the whole thing where she goes, "No," and then it rewinds, and then you get to see the same thing over, but and I was like, "Oh, does Wanda have a little bit of control here? Because my first thoughts watching it is that Wanda's stuck. She doesn't know where she is. And so I'm wondering now if she has a little bit of control over what's going on and how it's changing from decade to decade. So it really makes me excited for the next few episodes to see where it goes.
It
Yeah,
was
well,
Geraldine. Her name. I'll just check.
sorry?
Geraldine.
Geraldine, yeah. Yeah, that sounds like
Geraldine,
a 50s or 60s name for sure. Well, let's focus first on the first episode. So the show opens up. They've gotten in the show they're a couple, but they don't know their backstory. So they obviously they live together. They see the calendar. They see a heart. They don't even know what it means themselves. They're like, "Oh, is that our anniversary? What's going on?" They don't know. So Vision goes off to work, and then Wanda has her neighbor. So what is her? It's early in the morning for you. What is her name in the show? I think it's
Agnes.
Agnes. Yeah. So Agnes, I think, is going to play a pivotal role in this series. She's there to keep an eye on Wanda. So Wanda's not quite at this point. We don't know what Wanda knows, and Agnes is just that kind of to kind of spy on her. And then obviously Vision goes to work, and we find out that the Heart is his boss, and his boss is coming home for dinner. So it's a big deal. Wanda, it's classic sitcom stuff where one character thinks it's one thing, the other character thinks it's another thing, and there's some misconfusion, and then hijinks ensues. 50s hijinks of like, oh my god, the dinner's burnt, and like that's
And
just
then
like
turns
that's
into eggs because
yeah,
it was
like
too
that's
far
just
enough.
yeah, that's just like some like that's I Love Lucy. That's like classic sitcom stuff. So that stuff they did really, really well, and I agree with you. So I was wrapped up in that stuff too. It's like I was like, I know my brain is I'm wanting more MCU stuff, but I'm enjoying the sitcom stuff, and then my brain will recognize the things I'm supposed to that that the show wants me to like. Hey, this is important. Maybe not now, but like just remember that this is happening later. Like I was watching for that stuff, but I was just in the meantime, I'm enjoying the performances of Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen. Just like the amount of coaching that they must have got to have these kind of 50s mannerisms and sayings, and just like her fainting into the like, oh, it's like all of it. I was just eating it up, and I get what you're saying, Bogz. Is like, hey, what's the big deal? Like for me, watching a lot of like Nick at Night stuff, watching the Honeymooners. Used to watch the Honeymooners every night as a kid. Wasn't the biggest I Love Lucy fan, but like that kind of comedy, I'm not. This is not my new. This is not new to me. I'm not saying it is to you, but the fact that they can replicate it so well and then sprinkle the MCU on top of it, I just like, oh, that's. I said a lot. I'm marveled in its sense. So, then when we got her boss choking, and then the wife saying like, "Oh, stop it! Oh, stop it!" and she just kept saying, "Stop it." She really wasn't talking. She was kind of more or less. That was in my thought. That was her telling Wanda, "Hey, please stop this. He's going to die. He's a real person. Don't kill this man." So that was the first time to me that Wanda. That's when the show got even more fascinating, because at that point we now know Wanda is aware of something. What she's aware of, we don't know yet. So she obviously told Vision to save him, and Vision uses powers, and they didn't address it. They were just like, yeah, we gotta go. So for me, that was a pivotal point. Boggs, what do you think of that moment when we saw Wanda pretty much just like, kind of break out of her character in a sense, and just kind of like tell Vision to save Vision's boss?
Yeah, was it? I don't know. I think you called it fascinating. There, I call it confusing. Where they didn't, like you said, they didn't address it afterwards. So I'm a bit, like I said, I'm not as in tune with the comic book world currently. So I'm like, okay, what is going off there? So she, like you said, she was telling her to stop it. But the way that she was doing it, she was acting like really weird. And she told Vision to get it. He just pulled it out of his neck. Like, I'm thinking, oh, isn't that a real person? Like, how can you? Like, there's so many questions. And then, yeah, they just up and left.
Remember, Vision, Vision has phasing power. So he was able to phase in and get the food out.
Okay. Yeah, it was just a bit up in the air. But yeah, just what you're saying there. I was just thinking as you were speaking, like, yes, I kind of watched all them shows as well growing up. But I think maybe, I don't know, I'm just speculating. I think maybe it has there's a stronger affiliation for it with American audiences. For me, it was
I
like,
was
okay,
just about to ask you that too.
yeah, I've seen them all. I've seen Bewitched, I've seen I Dream Jeannie, of course, growing up with these shows and stuff. But for me, like, I didn't want to see this. So for me, it's just like, okay, let's get to the good stuff as I'm watching it. So for you guys, it seems like more of a reminiscing thing, like a nostalgic thing. Like you appreciate the everything that's going on, out of kind of a respect for it, for the genre. So I do too, but it's just like, for me, it's like a surface level thing. It's like, okay, I'm watching this show for the MCU. I'm not watching. I'm not really too fascinated about this sitcom stuff. Like, let's get to the good stuff, but let's see what bigger implications it has to the MCU. But of course, I understand that's the type of show it is. But yeah, that's why I'm kind of not the most excited for it. Not currently right now, anyway. But let's see. Yeah, I did like that scene overall, but I was more questions. I'm kind of more puzzled. But yes, it was overall quite a fascinating scene.
Patience, Bogz. Your
Yeah, I'm definitely
questions will
impatient.
get answered
Yeah.
at some point. So what did you think of that scene specifically?
One, it's so great, and like I had to go look up her name. It's Deborah Jo Rupp.
Yeah, she was good.
Oh,
She was good.
because
I like the
me,
boss
she-
as well.
she's-
The
She was in
Yeah.
that 70 shows.
Yeah, she was Kitty
Oh,
in that
really?
70
Okay,
show.
okay,
So to
good.
me, I was like, oh, Kitty's here. So just to see her again, because you don't see
Okay.
her that much now, that I was
Yeah.
like, oh, the MCU got her. And so it was, even though that 70 show that came out in the 90s, right?
I know it came out in the 2000s.
2000s, yeah.
2000,
Yeah.
2000, but it's still a sitcom, so it was like, oh, you're bringing like one of my favorite characters from that sitcom into this show that is very sitcom-esque. So it was
Yeah.
good to see her, and then that fact, I was just like, oh, when are we gonna find out about these people in this town? Like, what episode are we gonna? So it was me more of like, it was like a teaser, a little sprinkling of that. We're gonna find out what happened here in a future episode. So I guess like I was on the opposite of Boggs, and instead of like I need this now, it was like one of those like, oh, we're building up, which like some of my favorite books like build up little things. Like a book I'm recently reading, like will give you a little hint and then not address it at all, and then you find out what that hint was several chapters later, and it's been keeping me keep reading the book and like turning the page because I'm like, okay, I need to figure out what the hell's going on. So I think that's for me that it's that's what this show is doing. It's giving you those little hints that are going to be answered later.
Yeah, for me, this is like the Truman Show. It's like, but with a twist, like the fact that Wanda, they're in this bubble thing, of which we don't fully understand quite yet. The actors are aware, know what this is, and they have to play their roles in a sense because she's like, haha, stop it, but I'm really telling you to stop, get, don't let him die. He's a real person. Don't let him die. He's just like playing a role in a sense. So it's that's for me, that's also another layer on top of it. It's like the Truman Show, but it's also like a little bit of a not a murder mystery, but like a whodunit thing. Like, you have to kind of figure out what's actually really going on here. How
Wanda,
much
who's
does
doing
Wanda?
this to you?
Yeah. The thing on the radio, Wanda, who's doing this to you? Them at the end of the episode, seeing whoever it was, we saw it on the television. Who's watching the television? And we actually got to see that we saw the sword symbol. So now we know 100% that sword is somewhat, maybe not behind it, but they're 100% involved.
Monitoring.
In this. Yeah.
They're monitoring her.
So Boggs, to answer your question, what if after Endgame, Sword pretty much, probably head by Nick Fury, probably like, one is a little bit out of control. We don't know what to do with her. Let's kind of like isolate her and make her believe that everything's okay, but until we figure out what to do with her, and we can concoct something with Vision to kind of placate her while we figure out what to do. So something like that would make sense, especially because now we 100% know Sword's involved. They might not be 100% behind everything, but we know they're involved. So, but the also thing that was fascinating was the commercial. So back in the day, especially in the 50s, shows were sponsored by products. So it'd be like, brought to you by, soup or whatever. So this
Cigarettes.
was brought to you by, yes, oh, definitely cigarettes. They're healthy for you guys. Keep smoking them.
They're cool.
Yeah, so it was brought to you by this toaster, this Stark Technology toaster. So a lot of people, there's a lot of speculation about this ad in particular. Who are the people in the ad, and what was the significance about the toaster? So, Sol, you had an interesting theory when we were talking about it. You want to share what your interesting theory was?
So because when the Wanda was first introduced, they did not have the rights to mutants. So they had to change her backstory. They couldn't really say mutants on any of their movies. So I think that because she's lost her brother, she's lost Vision, I think these might be her parents who died. And so I'm thinking in the MCU verse. So I think that that's possibly her remembering like from trauma, because I think they said that her parents died through like, remember Tony Stark was selling weapons. I think her parents died in somewhere related to Stark Industries. So she has Stark Industries here. That's her parents. In the second commercial, it has the Hydra symbol and it says Strucker. That's the person who had the Mind Stone and was giving her those powers through the Mind Stone and researching, and who knows what happened in that lab. So I think it's her remembering parts of her past and putting that in, and that's what these commercials are. So I think those are her parents, actually.
Yeah, that's a great theory, and it's a symbol because think of it this way: what happened with the parents is that a Stark bomb dropped in their house, and then it went off, and that's how they were killed. So a piece of technology killed them. That's a piece of technology. That red light could be flashing like it's gonna go off. It's gonna go off because they were in Age of Ultron. They were saying like, oh, we don't know when it was gonna go off. When it was gonna go off. So for me, I 1,000% agree with you. So because a piece of technology with a ticking time killed her parents. This is a piece of technology, especially in the 50s, with that red light. It was ticking and then it went off.
And the
So
ticking went faster and faster as it was going, and that also happened with the watch in episode 2.
yeah,
So if you can hear the ambulance, I'm sorry.
Go
it's
outside.
fine.
Run.
But yeah, need to go run. But the fact that too, that like it's something that was ticking faster and getting faster, kind of like it with the Jaws scene, like da 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 da. So like it was giving you that like, I think the moment of that sound is supposed to give you that little anxiety of like there's something that's speeding up. And so I think too, just the sound design of that
They're coming
also
for Soul.
was
They're
really
coming
good.
for Soul. Oh yeah, I think what they might do, and hopefully what they will do, I think, is that these commercials are great, but then I hope they re-air them in one of the later episodes to kind of give you, hey, that we were symbol. This is what we really mean here. Like they hit it home hard. Like this is what this commercial means. This is what that commercial means. So Boggs, if our theory is correct that was who their Wanda's parents were, and that's what that commercial meant, what would that mean for you?
Yeah, these were the best parts of the episode. This and, like I said, the last kind of minute or two of episode 2. But yeah, these are the MCU things that they're sprinkling in. So, okay, I did see that online that that's rumored to be her parents in the thing. But yes, obviously, as soon as I seen Stark Industries on it, I kind of remember that they've obviously explained that their parents were killed by Stark Industries, was it missile or some kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yes, I definitely remember that. And yeah, I remember seeing the Hydra. Was it on the Watch? Was
It's
that
on
what
the
it
Watch.
was?
Yeah. Well, that's the episode 2.
Was it
We'll
a
get
clock
to that
or
in a
watch?
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, it was that. So that kind of stuff, because you're trying to do like not the math in your head, but like just what year are they in? What kind of like where about a Hydro? Like where's Tony Stark? Like what's he? Just like what kind of situation it is, and is that relevant to this sitcom, or is it is she just having some kind of the flashbacks just being dropped in randomly? Like I'm sure, like because these are historic events in the MCU. Like Hydra is from the 40s, from World War II, right? And Stark
Yeah.
Industries was also around World War II in the 40s. So I'm thinking, what are these relevant to? Because the sitcom is kind of after that time, I'm guessing in the 50s, 60s. So why are these relevant to this particular sitcom story? So that's what the kind of math that I was doing in my head. So yeah, these are the best bits. These are what I'm here for. That's the MCU, right? So yes, definitely enjoyed them elements.
Well, I think it's just the show goes on. Like now after these 2 episodes, we have 7 more. So I just think we're going to get more and more of less sitcom stuff. More, I think the balance is going to start to slowly move into more MCU stuff, and I think that's what the critics are saying. Without saying that, the third episode now is going to be where I think we get a lot more of the her world, not breaking, but we see more cracks. Because like the moment the ball started to choke, that was a crack, and the fact where Wanda kind of had to stop what she was doing, and it's like, all right, Vision, save him.
It's like she broke character almost.
Yeah, exactly. Like so, for me, it's just like that's the biggest thing. Like, who knows what? Like, do the people in the town know what's happening? I think the only person who really doesn't know what's happening is Vision. I think Vision doesn't know anything.
I think the person that knows
he's along for the ride.
What's happening is Agnes, because a lot of speculation is that she's Agatha Harkness, and I think her husband Ralph, who we haven't seen yet. Every time she's mentioned Ralph, I think that's a specific purpose. While his name keeps coming up, I think that's Mephisto, especially when we go into the second episode where it was like the devil's in the detail. That's not the only place he is, and so I think
I don't think we're ever gonna see Ralph. She's gonna mention him, I think, at every single episode. Oh, my husband.
And, until we see Mephisto, Ralph is gonna be Mephisto.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think Ralph is not real. But I just like that she'll keep bringing it up though, which is funny. So the first episode.
Before you go on to the second episode, I do quite like these side characters though. That pop in and out. That work in like Vision's office. And we're in that room. I think it's in the second episode where he kind of they're having like a members meeting, and he kind of just I just like all their different interactions, and that what you're saying, like you don't know if they're in on it or not, or like what the situation is here, what the deal is here. They don't know if they're just entertaining him, or like you just kind of figuring that stuff out. So even that, because that's like more mystical, or like you're trying to again do the math in your head about how weird the show is. I don't feel like that's sitcom specific stuff. That's like more confusing. Like what the heck's going off here? So I do kind of like the extras, and their kind of dialogue and stuff.
Yeah, well, that's classic sitcom stuff. Interesting side characters that kind of like add their little, and then you just put the MCU sprinkling on top because you're right. Are they in on it? I think they are. I think they know what's happening. They have to play a role. That's why. Why are
they playing along?
Like, they all might be sword agents. They all might be sword agents. And this is like, hey, stop it! Wink, wink. Hey, stop this! Like, I don't want to break character, but I'm kind of breaking character. Put a stop to this. So, but to what end? We don't know. So if Mephisto is involved, does Sword know Mephisto's involved? Like, so it's just kind of like, is Agatha being like, is she like a double agent? Is she actually a sword agent and she's Mephisto at the same time? So she might be having her own agenda inside of Sword, where she's like trying to get Wanda to break, and then she obviously will break the multiverse. So
like
it's
a scroll
just so
doesn't know.
It's so fascinating, and I think that's where the hype is, Bogz, because we don't know anything, and at this point they're just teasing us, like all these little sprinkles of things.
And it's possible too that there are minions of Mephisto in there, and that it's Monica Rambeau is coming in to like kind of see what's going on before they actually go in, try to save Wanda. So this whole thing could be Mephisto's doing because of the whole like Wanda, who's doing this to you, and that's why I think the fact that where she is, I don't think it's Sword, because I think that's Sword trying to come in asking who's doing this to you. But then again, it could be Mephisto asking who's doing this to you. Who knows? So I think
well, I mean, it could be Sword, because the fact that, like, especially that happened in the second episode, we'll start talking about that in a second, is because if things aren't working right, it's like if it's like she was in the Matrix. Oh, like there's a glitch in the Matrix. Hey, Wanda, who's doing this? Who's breaking the world for you? So that could have been like them, like, hey, Wanda, are you okay? What's happening? Something's happening that's not supposed to be happening. Are you okay? Who's doing this to you? Because this isn't part of the plan. Because who knows how long she's been in there, like in this little bubble thing. We don't know. It's like another good thing. Before we move to episode 2, another thing I liked about episode 1 was that when the characters were like, what's your story? Like, how long you been married? Like, and the fact that they're like, oh no, We don't have a story. So at that point, just be like, well, it messes with our expectation because then is Wanda in on it because she playing dumb that she doesn't know? Because I understand that what Vision doesn't know, he doesn't know anything. But is she playing along in the sense that like, yeah, I don't know what our story is, wink, wink, I don't know, or does she actually not know? But she's aware that she's in this kind of real. It's so fascinating because both could be true. Maybe she knows some things and not other things. So it's like at this point, who knows? I just know the first episode quite enjoyed the fact that it was kind of like 22 minutes, like classic sitcom episode length without the commercials. Even though we got a commercial, I still made sure I watched throughout the entire thing. It was like, are they gonna sneak something in at the end? I was like, I don't want to miss anything. They didn't.
I watched the reaction video where they were like, okay, are we gonna have an end credit scene? And they watched through the whole thing, and it was, and they were like, ah, damn it, Marvel, like joking because there wasn't an end credit scene.
I think there will be one in the last episode, the very last episode. But so, I even watched just to make sure. I'm stupid. I watched even through the other countries' languages. I was like, I'll watch all this stuff just to be sure. I know they wouldn't put it behind that stuff.
That's where they're gonna throw it in.
I know they wouldn't put it that far, but I'm just like, hey, I've gone this far. Let me just make sure. Let me just be 100% sure. But anyways, so obviously the first episode took place in the 50s, and that could be the Dick Van Dyke Show. That could be I Love Lucy. There's speculations of what show they're actually referencing mainly in there. I think it's more or less Dick Van Dyke and I Love Lucy, especially with the dynamic. But episode 2, it's very, 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 very clear that episode 2 is Bewitched. Like with the intro, like that's just instead of a broomstick, they're just flying, which was great. So obviously now we're in the 60s. They're referencing Bewitched, and the fact that they even changed the set to kind of more or less mirror what Bewitched set looked like was another. I wasn't expecting that. I thought we were just kind of stay in the same household, but then it's like, you know what? After them changing the intro, makes sense that we're gonna change the house because it reflects the times of where we're in this episode. So now the house looks more like the Bewitched house. They're trying to figure out this talent show thing. Bogz mentioned it that Vision went to this kind of club where the guys were hanging out. And Wanda went to this club where all the women are hanging out. The fact that they got Vision drunk was hilarious. Because he was like, oh, I don't eat anything. Oh, you want some gum? I was like, what? Was like, what's up with the gum? And then to kind of see the gum go in and get cogged up in his cogs. I was like, that's hilarious. And the fact that he was just drunk. I was like, how else are you going to get Vision drunk? Oh, they find a nice sitcom way of like, he's drunk, but he's not really drunk kind of way of explaining it. Like, that's just great stuff. It's almost like his drink got spiked. That's just classic sitcom stuff because it happened in Bewitched. So, loved all that. And again, with the magic show, Wanda trying to like Vision just like, fuck it, I'm flying. She's like, the rope. Yeah, that's how it's happening. And with the piano, it's not a real piano. Like her just kind of
my grandmother's piano.
Like Vision bumbling. Let's say, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. And she kind of like, I don't want to blow her cover, even though they probably really know. Again, it goes back to who knows what, because obviously we know what they are. Does the town know, and does Wanda know they know, or does she think like, I got to protect our identity? So there's a lot of things that we don't know that she knows. And then obviously the episode opened up with the knocking, the tapping. This is so much. So what is your thoughts on episode 2 specifically? And then we'll get into the Strucker ad. But your thoughts about episode 2 specifically.
I love the like slight little changes from the first, and I think we also saw that in the trailer, like when they go to the Brady Bunch, like the stairs also changed to be more mimic the stairs in the Brady Bunch. So I think that's what we're gonna see each episode when they go into new decades. But I really enjoyed this episode. I really liked the magic show. I thought that was really funny, especially like what I just said, like that was my grandma's piano. Like just the crowd interaction with it. I enjoyed him being drunk because that's like, how do you get a robot drunk? You give him some gum. And
gum also, up the works.
And the where she was flicking up and down to get the gum out, something that taking back to the first episode when Agnes opened the front door to give the piano, she did that same motion. So is that showing that Agnes herself too has witch powers or anything? Because I know people were talking about that online, and that's why she got the door slammed in her face. So
Maybe.
who knows? And I think too, again, what Bogz said, the last part of the episode was it for me. That was where I was like, okay, let me rewind to watch that again because I wanted to see her face. I wanted to see how much knowing there is there, where she goes, no, and then makes it rewind. And then also at the very end, you get the Wanda who's doing this to you, that voice as well. So that, I think just that fact, the Wanda who's doing this to you, the rewind that happened, that I think it was Wanda who was doing that rewind. So it makes you think like, oh, Wanda has at least a little bit of knowledge of what's going on. And just anything with Agnes, she's my favorite character so far. As a side character, I think she's hilarious. I can't wait to see more of her. Like it's been great with her so far.
Yeah, I think like I just saw this, and then Boggs, I'll get your thoughts. Is what if they Sword went to her and said, you know what, or she went to them and just like, you know, I'm kind of lost. I don't know what to do, and they're like, just come to our facilities. We'll take care of you. And then they purposely put her in this kind of mental bubble, and then now it's starting to break, and now that's where the like, Wanda, who's doing this to you? Because like when the woman broke the glass, and then it's like these, like, this is not supposed to happen. Like, what's going on? Our perfect world is breaking. So Boggs, your thoughts on episode 2?
Yeah, so during that whole drunk thing, yeah, I thought it was fine. I could see, you know, she was trying to kind of dispel his powers and stuff. It was fine. I wasn't like kind of laughing out loud or like rolling over kind of thing, but yeah, I was like waiting for because I didn't get how Geraldine, like, she didn't, like, is she in on it or not? Like, she's surprised that she's in the cupboard, and the way people are asking the questions, it was more confusing for me. I'm not gonna lie. So, but yes, I did enjoy the kind of ending where she's kind of rewound that scene almost again. Like, she wasn't happy with the outcome. So again, you use the word fascinating. I use the word confusing or confusing. So it just kind of leaves you with more questions. And I kind of knew going in that this show was going to do that, but I thought I'd get more answers or kind of more explanations a lot sooner. So, but yeah, I did really like the last minute or two, the kind of color changes in the scene, very Disney-esque, like Disney movies of the 40s and 50s and stuff, like Fantasia or like Pinocchio, that kind of thing. So same kind of coloring effect. I did like that design and stuff. So same magical element to it. But yeah, I mean, I preferred the second episode over the first one. But yes, it was definitely a lot more questions than answers I got for me. So yes, it was much anticipating the third one. Hopefully I'll get more. Like I said, I'm not that, you know, I guess I'm kind of impatient. I want my answer straight away.
Do you think it would have been
I didn't
better
think I
for
was,
you,
but it turns out I am.
if it was one where it all came out at once and you were able to binge through the whole thing?
I think
A
time will
series.
tell. I think it would.
Yeah, exactly. Time will tell. I mean, I think for this kind of series, yes, because like it's just confusing me more and more along with it. So, and I can't be the only one like this. Like, how much, you know, MCU casual, you know, movie fans watch it, right? They're not going to get every reference. They're not going to get every tie-in. So you must be confusing a lot of people with this. So, yes, with this type of series, I would prefer to have binged it to understand the references and stuff, because I'm a bit lost watching it. So yeah, I get the sitcom stuff. Yeah, I get the kind of other characters in there. I like that stuff, but yes, I'm definitely confused with what's going on and why she's just going along with this, and she seemingly knows that what's going on, but she's kind of rewinding and as everyone knows, or yeah, I'm thoroughly confused, to be honest.
Well, I agree with you. This is a perfect, as we've only seen the first 2 episodes, but so far it's like, because as soon as episode 1 was over, like, give me two, and then as soon as 2 ends, like, God damn it, I gotta wait for 3. So it's like, I could completely understand. I think going forward, like, I would easily do a 9 episode binge and watch all 9 back to back to back to back to back. and then it probably might feel better in that sense for you, Boggs. Well,
Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
so.
again, time will tell. But for me, it's just more or less like they're doing a great job of giving me a reason to keep tuning in, because you're right. I don't know what in the world is happening. It's like a movie ending on a cliff, or episode ending on a cliffhanger. Like, oh, I gotta watch the next episode because I want to know what happens. So the fact that, does she know what, like, it's like when the government asks you, what did you know and when did you know it? So like, what does Wanda know, and who else knows things? Like, who's in on it besides Vision? Vision doesn't know anything. He's just along. He's like us. He's along for the ride. We're along for the ride. He's just, he's playing his role and whatnot. But yeah, how did he come back? It's so many questions. Like the fact that what does this red color really mean? Because obviously we saw it a lot in the second episode with the toy helicopter with the sword logo on that. What that mean? Agnes kind of just like, hey, stop looking at that. Let's go to the clip. Like, don't worry about that.
I mean, her
Like,
powers are red. Like, if
Yeah.
all her powers that she does,
Vision is
it
red
has
as
a
well.
red
I
tag.
know it's quite.
yeah, so red. So maybe that's just like they're suppressing her powers, and it's like there's so many things that Agnes just kind of sweeping her away from that. It's like, get your mind off that. Let's just talk about this woman who's having this party. So I think she's just kind of there to keep her, keep her occupied and keep an eye on her. So like maybe because maybe the thing is reminding her like, hey, this isn't real. That sword helicopter, because maybe Sword is putting that in. Hey, remember, this is not real, Wanda. So she's like, well, what is this thing? Oh, don't worry about it. Maybe the tapping was really them tapping to get their attention. Who knows? The voice, I'm curious who that was. I'm assuming we'll eventually find out who that was. That voice is, we're gonna hear that voice again at some point, and it'll be revealed who that was. Who's doing this to you, Wanda? But yeah, the
You
just the
think that
comedy.
was Jimmy Woo?
It could be because he's in the series, so he could be popping up later on. So it's a possibility. It's a total possibility. But also, let's talk about the ad in this episode, which was the Strucker Watch. So obviously, we had a man and a woman again coming in there, and then this time it's about how to keep a man. You have a Strucker Watch.
The man needs two accessories: a woman and the Strucker watch.
and it took me a second to be like, wait. I was like, my brain was like, this is important, and I was like, wait, why is this important? And I had to play it back. Oh, Strucker! I was like, oh, duh. So this is why I like watching it alone, because I had to go back. I had to rewind it for a second. I'm like, wait, why is this important? Oh, Von Strucker, got it. Okay, so like obviously Von Strucker was the one who gave them Wanda and Pietro their powers, so important there. The fact that the watch is silver, Quicksilver, maybe that's a reference. Who knows? I don't know.
The Hydra
Maybe
logo.
The Hydra logo's right there, like, so they're not hiding that. So again, these things are here for a reason. I think one is obviously conjuring these things up as well, because all these things have symbolism to part of her past. But they might actually have a secondary meaning. Who knows at this point? But I'm just fascinating this ad as well as, and I hope we keep getting them. And
Yeah,
again, at the
what's
end,
the commercial gonna be in episode 3? Like,
yeah, and I hope we keep getting. And eventually, they kind of like maybe like episode 7 or 8 or even 9, they just kind of show you what the real meaning behind these things were. Like, is that really her parents? And was that toaster really referencing the bomb? Was this watch representing her brother? Because he runs faster like time does. So like that could be a reference to Quicksilver right here, and then we'll eventually see him. Who knows?
and the
But
sound, like I said too, the sound on the watch went quicker as well, just like the beeper on the toaster. So there's that
And
moment too that could be. I didn't even think about it's a silver watch. It could be Quicksilver. Like, you just made me go.
I'm sure that the 1,000 meters will have something to do with it as well. I don't know what exactly. Maybe underwater thing.
who knows?
Yeah, I thought
possible.
Cap for some reason, because he was frozen underwater. I don't know why exactly, but
I mean, everything is on the table at this point, because we don't know. We're all speculating. It could be all this stuff could be nothing. I doubt it means something. But so when you saw that commercial, what did you think?
At first, just the fact of the you need a woman and a watch, that's all you need is a man, made me just giggle. Because I'm like, oh, that is so, like, such an old thought of you. Like, and so it really tells you, like, the time that this is set in this sitcom. And then when I saw the Hydra logo, I was like, I had to pause and be like, wait a second. And then that was too. I was like, Strucker, what? Why is this important? So it was one of those like exact same thing. I was like, Strucker, yeah. And so, and that I didn't realize until after seeing the Hydra logo. So it was one of those like, I really want these commercials in each episode, and I want to know exactly what it's referencing, and that these obviously are important. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking they got Matthew Weiner to write that ad because that looks like it came from Mad Men. To be honest, like that's a Don Draper ad for Strucker watch. All you need is a man and a watch. Strucker
A
watch.
woman and a watch.
Yeah, it's like yeah, like that's straight out of Mad Men right there. Like that's a '60s ad. If I never saw one, like that's a '60s ad. So even to getting the ads right, the ads are time appropriate as well. Boggs, you saw the ad. What do you think?
Yeah, again, there were some of the best parts, the ads. But yeah, I was because I was waiting because I didn't get it straight away, and I was like, oh, what am I? Oh, it's Hydra, and then I didn't get the name till afterwards. I had to I think I googled it. I was like, oh, it's this guy. So okay, so yeah, so it's obviously another tie-in. So yeah, I didn't yeah, but I was trying to kind of connect the dots. Like, okay, so what? There's a watch, there's a toaster. We've got Stark, we've got Hydra. Like, what's going on? Like, what are the themes here? Because they're not really relevant to her story necessarily towards to the last kind of storyline that we see her in Endgame. So, like, why are we getting these stories now in this time period connected to her? So yeah, it is interesting. Yeah, definitely interesting kind of plot points we're trying to guess and speculate on. But yeah, no, I'm gonna need some answers soon.
Well, I think we're gonna get them. I think every episode is gonna have an ad, but they're symbols of Wanda's history. Like if those are her parents, obviously the toaster could be like again the bomb. The watch could be her brother, and Van Strucker is the person who gave them her powers. So they're just symbols of parts of her past. And eventually, as we go further and further along, we'll see, like, as we get closer and closer to some that could reference Thanos or Vision himself. Who knows? Like,
The Avengers.
yeah, the Avengers too. Yeah, we don't.
I'm
we
pretty
don't
sure her
know.
brother will appear in it as well somehow, some way.
I really think he is.
I want it.
I really think he is. Because
You don't
especially when I
want
saw that watch. No, I want it. I want it.
Yeah,
I
and
think
and I
so,
don't
but-
want Evan Peters Quicksilver. I want her brother from the MCU in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he signed a multi-contract deal, so they could have easily just like, yeah, we're exercising our right to bring you back for WandaVision. It would, especially for me, it would make 1,000% sense, especially if this is something that's conjured up. If you conjured up Vision and he was dead, you can conjure up her brother. So it would be a derelict of. They would have to explain why he's not in it if he's not in it.
You know the sitcom trope of a family member coming to visit? Like, what if it's one of those? Like in one of the episodes, it's her brother coming to visit them.
1,000%, like a guest star. Like you could even make fun with the credits. Guest starring as Quicksilver. Like you could do that, and I would laugh my ass off because again, if this is something in her brain, she loved her brother. He has to be in this. Otherwise, you have to explain why not. So, especially I saw that. I was like, oh, watch, time, silver, Quicksilver. I was like, maybe that was just me making those connections. But again,
makes sense.
kind of makes sense to me. But what do I know? But I definitely Hydra was. I definitely got that. And the last thing, and then we'll kind of speculate what we're going to see in episode 3 is the Bee Man, obviously. So they hear the tapping again. They go outside. They don't see anything, and then the manhole cover pops up, and this bee guy comes out. And then she's just like, nah, I don't like how this episode's going to end. And she rewinds, and then it ends up with her, obviously, well, first being pregnant, which is just like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm pregnant. I
Yeah.
was like, okay. And then the show going into color. So that also represents Bewitched because Bewitched started in black and white, eventually went into color. So and then eventually on Bewitched, they had Tabitha, so that all made sense to me. This is just a matter of fact, like, oh yeah, by the way, you're pregnant. Yeah. And then obviously we know we already see that they're gonna have twins, so it's just not one baby. But do we think that B person represents any or anybody, or is just another manifestation of that this program or whatever is broken? Something has infiltrated and has broken it, and one is just kind of not like, no, I fixing it, and then that's kind of what something has infiltrated the program. Boggs, what do you think?
Yeah, it'll definitely be a reference to something, which I'm sure will be kind of discussed later. But yeah, I was definitely confused when she was pregnant. I thought, what, like now what's going on? Basically, without any discussion about it, or like, oh, okay, in the scene before you weren't pregnant, now you're pregnant, and then this other thing happens, then you rewind. So I was definitely a little, I don't know, baffled. And then it kind of really finished, and then it kind of the episode ended quickly with like the coloring thing, and so yeah, it was definitely a I don't know, just leaving me not tripping out a little bit, but again, more questions than answers. So uh, yeah, it was definitely a confusing thing for me. So how can you just rewind? Like, what's going on? Like, yeah. So
Well, because it's
it
it's
was a
it's 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 all in our head, baby. So, or it's like the daydream or something. It's real, but it's not real.
mm.
But the fact that she's pregnant, not pregnant, it's like, women get
But
pregnant and
my thing
eventually,
is with this one, like,
so.
she didn't have these powers when we last seen her. So like, how has she now got these powers? So that's my
Well,
because they got
she
to be
she
careful.
has.
For me, Sean, like the MC, they have to be careful because if it's more of questions and confusion, like for me, if I get another episode or two like this, hoping it's not, like I said, we've seen that in episode 3, you get some answers. But if they give me another episode or two like this, I'm gonna wait till it's finished and then watch it all because it's making me more confused every episode. So I'm gonna see. Yeah. So sorry, carry on.
Well, it's not Lost. The show Lost, where you're just like all these questions, and I don't know when I'm gonna get the answers, and sometimes you never did. This show is gonna give you the answers. I think they're just sprinkling
Yeah,
them
yeah,
in to give you like, wow, what's going? It's like a murder mystery. Like, huh, maybe this person did it, maybe that person did it. I'm not quite sure. There's a lot of elements of things going on, but for me, so your thoughts of like what that B person meant. Was it anybody? Was it somebody? Was just a representation of the program breaking and then her kind of rewinding, her being pregnant? Kind of the last couple of minutes there. What was your overall thoughts?
I think that it could be possibly like a hack, or it could be like someone like a sword agent coming through, and that's why it was at night. Like, I think maybe there's a possibility that sword agents come through those manholes or something at night while everyone's asleep, and they're doing something or another. They could be the ones that are changing it to the next decade. Like, they could have like a tap into Wanda, and they can see where Wanda wants to go next. So if she's going to go to the next decade, like, they might be coming in and changing things up around the town. So I think that it's probably someone, a sword agent, someone at sword coming in.
Yeah, it's possible that could be Jimmy. Who we don't know. Like I'm just and the fact that she was pregnant, just like, yeah, she's pregnant. That's fine. That was like, because the way those sitcoms just explain it, like they didn't explain it. Like, up, she's just
Yeah.
with child now. How that happened? Don't ask. Don't, we can't tell. I even love the joke that their beds were separate, like just back then. And then Wanda's like, "Yeah, let's bring them together, and then have some fun." And that's how she got pregnant. Without saying anything, it's like, oh, come on. So obviously, so that happened. So going into episode 3, we already what we know is going to the 70s now. We already know it's based on the Brady Bunch. We already know now she's gonna have the kids. She's gonna have 2 kids. Those are things we already know. So I'll start with you. Based on what we know, what are your expectations going into at least episode 3?
So we saw her in the trailer pregnant, like in the Brady Bunch part. So I don't know I think she could be pregnant throughout the whole thing and possibly have the kids at the end, or I think it'd be weird to have the kids in the middle of it. So I think either the kids need to be like she has the kids at the end of the episode, or has the kids like she's still pregnant throughout the whole episode. So I would rather have it something like that. Um, yeah, we know that it's Wiccan and Speed, so we're gonna see that in the future. Uh, I'm just here along for the ride. I'm going to follow the Force Center of speculate responsibly, and by not speculating anything at all that is responsible, I'm not expecting much other than just to see what happens and get some answers, and I'm excited for it.
I have an interesting theory about the kids, but I'll let Bogz go first. What are your expectations about episode 3?
So it's pretty much what Sol said at the end there, that I'm not I don't know what to expect. So haven't set expectations. Like it's like a weird show basically. So anything that unfolds, I'll try and take it on board. I suppose I look forward to the commercials, the adverts, and see what references they have. But I'll be honest, I need some kind of explanation about what the heck's going on with the other people in this place, or kind of what just how everything's happening to her and why it's happening. That kind of thing. I need some sprinklings of some answers. So by episode 3, otherwise I won't be happy.
Well, I know I can understand, and the trailers. Bogz is like, I'm mad. But we've obviously, well, obviously from the trailers, we've seen like this whole thing is going to break down even more so. So obviously, I think what the critics are saying, I think we're really going to get a big peek of maybe what's going on behind the curtain in episode 3 to kind of give you an idea of like, oh, this is what's really happening, and then it's still going to go along with the same formula, but you have a better idea of like, oh, this is what's happening. Oh, okay, I got you. As well as they keep going through the decades, but then you have a better idea of who's behind the curtain controlling everything, and then we see more cracks come along the way, and then eventually everything goes to shit. But my thought process is, so in terms of her being pregnant, I think it's better for her to stay in the 70s episode pregnant, and then when they go into the 80s is a little bit more wackier of them having, they could easily have one of these wacky, like, oh my god, I'm going in labor type, gotta go to the hospital type thing. That kind of stuff makes more sense to happen in the 80s than the 70s. So a lot more of those wacky, like, oh my god, like I'm gonna break your hand because I'm having contractions type things, and you did this to me. Like those kind of jokes make more sense to happen in the 80s and the 70s. So I think the Brady Bunch episode, I agree with you. I mean, who do we know? It makes more sense to me that her kind of having an episode of her being pregnant and dealing with that, and then having whatever, because we still don't know what the 80s sitcom is, because we know the 90s one is going to be Full House. So I'm really fascinated. I think the 80s one might be Family Ties, maybe, based on the pictures, maybe Family Ties. I don't know. We'll find out.
And it could just be an amalgamation of several.
Could be. Oh yeah, it could be. I mean, but I'm just saying. Obviously, they make references to many things, but I just think the main reference, like obviously, the main reference in 2 was Bewitched. I mean, that was very obvious. And based on the settings of episode 3, for one, looks like it's the Brady Bunch. They could reference other things, but I'm thinking the 80s
Who's
one.
going to be in the squares for the opening sound?
That I'm also looking forward to what the intro is going to be, especially if it is the Brady Bunch, the Wanda Bunch. I don't know. I don't know. Vision will be in the middle because, just like Alice, she didn't. Alice was just along for the ride. She didn't know what was happening. She just there to clean up. So I'm looking forward to episode 3. I think Bogz. I think they will do you justice, and I think you'll feel better about the show after episode 3. Obviously, we'll find out once it airs and we come back to talk about it. But I have a seeking suspicion that you'll get some answers. We won't get all the answers, but I think you'll get enough answers in episode 3 to be like, you know what? Yep, that's gonna tide me over for a while. I'm still not. I don't think you'll be 100% satisfied and on board. I think you'll eventually get there, but I think you'll get enough answers to be like, you know what? Okay, they bought some time for me.
I hope so. I hope so because I think it stems down to, from being honest, I didn't really want to watch a sitcom. So I want to see what happens in the MCU, basically. So I think the more they blend that over for me, the more, you know, the more I understand about the MCU, the more I see what's going on, how is it connected, the more I'll be intrigued. So, and then I'll just kind of bear with the sitcom stuff. But yeah, I hope so.
Well, I think it's a scale. I think right now it's like heavy sitcom, little MCU. I think as
That's
we
it,
go
yeah.
forward, it's just going to slowly, and then tip over. And we're slowly starting to see that. And we saw a lot more references in 2 than we did in 1. And I think it's just we're going to get even more in 3 and then more in 4
I think
and
it's going
so
to
on
be
and so forth.
exponentially grow that we're going to get more
Yeah.
MCU each episode.
Yeah, because I think
Sounds good.
this bubble thing is just going to slowly crack as maybe her brain is like losing her mind and she just, So, yeah, and that's what I'm waiting for. So for me, it's just a matter of I understand that you have to lay the groundwork down for that stuff to pay off even better later on. So like you have to lay it's like building a house. You got to lay the foundation so it's nice and strong. So when you start building on top of it, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. That's gonna hold. Because otherwise, just like, if they just, what the fuck's that gonna do? Like, that's gonna fall down. That's a plot hole right there in the ceiling. So I say, be patient, Bogz. Be patient. Trust Kevin Feige.
try.
He knows what he's doing. He know what he's doing.
Definitely.
You know what he's doing. All right, so that's our spoiler review for episode 1 and 2 of WandaVision. God damn it, we gotta wait every week for this. Damn it. I wish they would do like I know this isn't gonna happen. 2 a week just sounds really, really good.
Yeah.
2 a week sounds really good, especially considering that they're not very long. 2 a week sounds nice, but
And after binging Cobra Kai, I'm like, I kind of want to binge this show.
I do and I don't. I mean, I feel too weird about it because if you binge it, then we talk about it, and then all right, well, let's wait for Falcon and Winter Soldier. So,
I think it's shorter episodes. I think for me, when it's a shorter
Yeah.
episode show, I want to binge it, and when it's a longer episode show, I want it week to week.
I think that's a very good point because the Mandalorian was short but I think they're short and rich though. There's a lot, and but to Boggs'
I
point, but
enjoyed
because
the week
it's
to week for Mandalorian. I actually I preferred that.
yeah, but to Boggs' point, because this show has a lot of mystery to it, you're not like, oh, what's really happening, and because they're short, it's like, oh man, I don't know what's going on. But I think as you go more along, they're like, oh really? Oh okay. Oh man, I gotta wait another week. So they've already come out and said like, yeah, we're gonna get a lot of answers. Paul Bettany said we're gonna like, how did Vision come back? We'll find out. So we're gonna find out things. It's just a matter of not if, when. But I think, Box, like I said, I think episode 3, I think you're gonna feel a lot better. How much better? We don't know. Time will tell. But that's pretty much our episode for the week. The WRRP, what we're watching, we're watching WandaVision. That's what we're all watching right now. So we're gonna keep watching WandaVision. We're gonna keep talking about it every week, and then we don't even get a break after WandaVision. We go straight into Falcon and Winter Soldier. So we look forward to that. And I was dumb enough to look online, and now I know what Falcon's suit looks like, and I was just like, oh man, why did I click on that? God damn toys.
It's your
They
own
spoil
fault,
everything.
Sean.
It's my. Hey, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm blaming myself. Because like, why did I click on something that had spoiler in it? I was like, well then, if that's true, I only have myself. I was like, I only have myself to blame. But if what I saw is true, oh yeah, it looked good. So I can't wait to see if it is true, and if it is true, what it looks like in the show. So looking forward to that. But final thoughts on just WandaVision as a whole. Like, are you like, because obviously this is way out of the norm, and always remember that this wasn't supposed to be the first show This was supposed to be the second show. Falcon and Winter Soldier was supposed to be the first show. So I think their thought process before COVID was going to be we would come out with this great MCU type action show that feels like a movie, but we're breaking up into episodes, and then we'll give you this kind of palate cleanser of WandaVision, and then kind of go from there. And we didn't get that. Now we're getting the palate cleanser first, and then we're getting the Falcon. So does that kind of change your thought process of like this wasn't supposed to be the first one, so maybe kind of it messes with our expectations of what these Marvel Disney Plus shows are going to be. So what are your thoughts on that?
With me, I'm kind of happy that it's this show first because you're seeing them swinging and going for the fence with something new. Because I know a lot of people go, oh, all the Marvel movies, they're exactly the same. Because no, they're not, first off. But then also, you watch this, you can't even say that this is anything like we've seen before in the MCU. And I also think that WandaVision is going to have more ramifications for the MCU than Falcon and Winter Soldier. So the fact that we're getting this first, I think there's a reason we're getting it first now, is that they probably realize that this is going to have more stuff going forward than Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah, I think Falcon and Winter is more contained in its own little bubble. It will have effects going forward, but yeah, you're right. Especially now that WandaVision is coming out in the same year, hopefully, that Spider-Man 3 is coming out, whatever that movie's called. And we'll see the direct effects of what Wanda's doing in that movie this year. So it kind of plays in their favor a little bit to start the year out with this and to kind of end the year with Spider-Man 3 and like see what remember what Wanda did at the beginning of the year? Here's the main payoff right there. So Bogz, your overall thought of kind of where this show fits in the MCU timeline?
I don't know. I think I'm better to answer that after the season's finished. Right now, it's not totally invested in this particular show. I'm waiting for the answers so we can move on with other stories and see this bigger impact that it has on the MCU. So I kind of want them answers as soon as possible. But yeah, overall, I'm not a massive fan, as I've clearly said. But it's okay. Like, I'll continue to watch it, but it's not edge in my seat stuff for me. It's not as gripping as some of the other Marvel stuff or MCU stuff specifically. But yeah, I'm here for the answers. So
put a Baby Yoda in, then Bogz will be for it.
Yeah, or let Luke show up. If Luke show up, Bogz, wait, what? Yeah, Luke, exactly. Well, how'd you get here? I don't care.
Yeah, we've just come off the season 2 of The Mandalorian where you are getting massive answers, and it's exploring other themes as well. Like in the first episode, bang, Boba Fett's back, or his outfit's back, and they're battling a crate dragon. Second episode, that horror thing. Third episode, was it the Boba Fett one? I think so. It's just like every week to week, it's like you're getting massive answers that you hope for, and you're getting a absolutely edge on seat gripping story. Yeah, and obviously I know it's a season 1, it's their first kind of series, and it's with 2 characters that have a lot of mystique about them. I understand, but I was I don't know. So I wasn't massively expecting lows going in, so I wasn't disappointed anyway. It's just left me a bit more confused than I'd like to have been. So I'd rather have more answers now. But hopefully I'll get them in the next week or 2, and then I can eat my own words then. So we'll see.
I think we might have to bake up some good old fashioned English humble pie and have it on the side because Bogz might be eating it. He may not. He might go through the whole series and just like, you know what, this wasn't for me. Because I do think there's people like Bogz just like, because I was reading it online, people just like, I want more MCU stuff. I don't like this sitcom stuff. I was like, all right, yeah.
I mean, I didn't talk like that, but yeah.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, but like, what people, not that you're whining, you're actually making a legitimate thing. And especially, I think part of it comes because it's catering more to American sitcoms. So that's going to hit more of us Americans in the fields than it was for you. So I think you have more of a legitimate beef for just like, yeah, it's not hitting me the way it's supposed to because I'm not American. So I think you have a legitimate beef where other people just whine and complain like, oh, where's all the action? It's just like, not every MCU thing, especially on Disney Plus now, it's going to be action packed. It doesn't have to be. Especially it helps me in my mind thinking this was not supposed to be the first show. This is supposed to be a palate cleanser. That's what I'm looking at the show as. So that helps me digest it more easily, even though I'm enjoying what I'm seeing anyway. But with that thought on top, this makes me understand and appreciate even more so. Because if that's what they're supposed to be, and that's what it looks like it was, it's doing its job. Where if you're coming off this high impact series and you're getting this, it works better. But for me, in Feige we trust. So I'm not worried at all, and I think Bogz might be eating some pie later on.
Bogz, what type of pie do they eat in your area, the UK?
Oh, anything really. To be
it
honest,
meat
I don't really
pie?
eat that much pie in general, but I suppose maybe chicken and mushroom, or cheese and just like a cheese and onion pie, or there's like a steak,
cheese.
steak
Ooh,
pie,
steak
that kind
pie.
of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
I'm not a big pie.
I think maybe in the next couple of weeks, Bogz might pop on screen
I'll
eating
eat
some
a
pie.
pie on the show. How about that? I'll eat a pie
Yeah.
on the show if I end up, liking it and eat my own words. So yes, I'll do that as a challenge.
I think you might end up. I think you might like it because I think you're
I hope
on
so.
the.
I want to.
I think I think you want to like it, and I think you're just like give me a reason. You're waiting for a reason to get fully more invested, and I think that might come in episode 3, and then be like, oh, that's what's happening. Okay, now all right. Now I'm ready, and I think that's the reason why, and this will be kind of the last thing on this. This might be a reason why they dropped episode 1 and 2 together. Because imagine if they did 1, you have to wait a week, and then 2, wait another week, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? Now we just have to wait 1 week between episode 1 and 2, and then 3, where it seems like a lot of answers get done in 3. So they probably thought about people like Bogz, like, nah, I don't know if people are gonna be digging this kind of thing. Let's hurry up and get to the meat of it. Let's set it up and get to the meat. That's why we got 1 and 2 in 1 week. And so I think Bogz, they're thinking about people like you. They thought about it. They thought about it. So I think we're gonna be surprised and happy with 2, and then
And if
the
Bogz
pie
doesn't
better
like
not be
it, then
too good.
then Sean and I are gonna have to eat pie if Bogz doesn't like it.
I'll eat some cheesecake. That's good. But I'm not worried because I think he's gonna like it. I think it's not if when. He may not. He get on board. Maybe not at episode 3, 4. But I think by the time it's over, he'll be on board, because obviously by then we're gonna get everything that we want to know, and then it's gonna be a nice springboard into a lot of other things, and then we won't have to wait that long because a lot of the same answers again we're gonna get in the Spider-Man movie. So I think Bogz is gonna be on board at some point. It's just a matter of when and how much. That's me. That's what I think. He's gonna be on board. But I think episode 3, he might have eating a piece of pie, because he might be
Look forward to it.
He might be fully on board. Hopefully the pie don't look too good because you're across the pond. And
What
me
pie
and Sol
shall I
can't
eat? Drop it
have-
in the comments, and I'll try and adhere to that.
because me and Sol can't get any because you're across the pond there. All right, so that's our episode for the week. Thank you everybody for watching our news of the week stories, and obviously our review on WandaVision. So I'm sad that we only get 1 episode of WandaVision per week now. I hope that maybe the last week we get 2 more, because I don't know if I have to look this up. I don't know if they officially gave the the Falcon and Winter Soldier release date. So I know it's in March, but when in March? So, because I'm not sure. But in the meantime, we'll keep chugging along on the channel. So what's coming up on the channel? So obviously we're going to continue to talk about WandaVision in PopTalk, as well as the news of the week.
Scheduled release is March the 19th.
Okay.
Which is eight weeks. Okay. So that will match kind of with the end of WandaVision.
Or we got 7 weeks left, 7 episodes left, so they might take a week off. Maybe. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Give us a breather.
Yeah. Or who knows? They're gonna do something on that Friday. They're not. I don't think they would be.
It could be a gallery, but like for WandaVision.
Yeah.
Something like that. They'd be wise not to have a Friday with nothing. So, because maybe the plan was initially to have all nights come out week by week, but it's looking more and more like that episode 1 and 2 is going to be a smarter play for people, especially for people like Boggs. So obviously, so Boggs, we're doing, we have the high ground. So you want to kind of tease what you guys are doing over there, what we might come to expect in the next couple episodes, maybe.
Yeah, so obviously we just recently broke down it was a kind of book themed episode. They've released a new kind of line of series of books regarding the High Council, the High Republic. So the Light of the Jedi adult book there, which our glamorous librarian assistant is displaying here. We've reviewed it. It was a non-spoiler review, so check that out. We also ranked, if anyone wants to get into kind of the larger canon of Star Wars, or what books to read in the canon, which is aka the Disney takeover from the last few years, we all kind of ranked the top 3. We're also going to rank our Legends episodes, so anything released, or not released in the canon of Star Wars, or released pre 2014. Which is a plethora of books and stories and things like that. So that'll be a hard list to do. So yes, we're probably gonna have another guest on. Obviously, Star Wars not available, so not nailed that down yet, but another guest on to check out that list. And then moving forward past there, I haven't nailed it down, but lots to discuss. As we move forward, there's always news out every week, things to discuss. We talked about the games as well. They've created a new kind of arm with Lucasfilm Games, so where they can work with other game developers now, as opposed to having an exclusive deal with EA. So they can work with everyone else now. So looking forward to the games. That if you notice, there is some kind of Star Wars news every day, if you kind of follow the right thing. So
if you look hard enough, you find it.
Exactly. Always stuff to talk about. We normally end it with a list to give people recommendations and rankings. So yep, that's my favorite show on the channel. So look out for that.
Wow, you in here one of the hosts. I wonder why. Which is totally fine. It's for me. It's just a matter of you're right. There's a lot of Star Wars news. You don't have to look that hard to find it, because if it's not a book, it's news on like casting. There's a lot of stuff to talk about with Star Wars. It's big enough where it demands its own show, and especially that you guys can go back in time and talk about Rebels or Clone Wars or even the Legend stuff, because there was a large period of time when there wasn't no movies coming out, where people were just making up, for lack of a better word, fan fiction, because that's kind of what it is now at this point, even though a lot of it was good stuff, video games and books and all kinds of stuff that right now Disney could just like cherry pick with, like, oh, like that story,
they do all the time.
Take this,
all the time.
Take that. Yeah, they did it with Thrawn. They're doing it with a lot of stuff. Like, even I don't know a lot about that stuff, but I know that like Thrawn was a thing. They got rid of him and now they brought him back. So that stuff is really, really important to reintroduce to people, because some people like weren't into like all that that stuff, because the movies were gone technically for a large period of time. Star Wars was kind of on a downward turn. Like, there's no movies, no TV shows. Video games helped it a little bit, especially like during the Super Nintendo days, when they re-released all the games. That kind of brought Star Wars back a little bit. But even still, then there were still books and stuff coming out. But I think those were more or less like underground, like hardcore fans like you and Colin, like keeping the engine alive until eventually we got the prequel trilogy, and then going forward. But I still will watch Rebels at some point, and Clone Wars at some point.
2022.
No, I said before the first half of 2021, I've watched the Clone Wars. Rebels I'll get to eventually.
Oh man, I didn't send you the order. I'm gonna send you the order today.
Okay, I will watch Clone Wars. I'll sprinkle it because they're easy episodes to munch on. Especially I got some free time coming up. They're all like 22 episodes. Huh? What you said?
I said 22 minutes.
Yeah, I mean you could
episodes.
Well, there's lots of episodes. Oh yeah. But they're 22 minutes each long, so I mean, like, you'd be shocked on how many of those you can get through in a day. So I definitely will get through those, and then maybe at that point, once I do, I can come on the show and be like, well, I just watched all of the Clone Wars. Here's my thoughts, especially then now I can easily find ways not to tie it to the Mandalorian and to everything else, and then I can then start making my transition into Rebels and Resistance and obviously the Bad Batch because I know that's coming. So I know I can't watch that yet because I haven't watched Rebels. So it's like I'm just everything's being put on backlog for me. So I got to start catching up, and I intend to,
Catch up.
even though I don't have a lot of even though I don't have a lot of time. So, what's sleep? Who needs it? Yeah, whatever. All right, so that's pretty much what's going on in the channel. Coming up. So Soul, where can people find you besides on this great channel?
You can find me at SoulGovan on Twitter, at soul.k.govan on Instagram. You can find me over on the Media Sweaties Network YouTube channel. I do a show called Soul Talk every Wednesday, so go check that out. And then obviously I'm here on this channel. Sometimes I'm a guest on We Have the High Ground. I'm always here on Sunday, so make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you know when you can see me here.
And then I think I might be a guest on Soul Talk at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe,
Interesting.
maybe we'll see. Boggs, where can I find you?
Yes, catch us here on the Pop Culture Universe on We Have the High Ground and Pop Talk, and maybe a sports show. Can we see? Maybe that's a long way. But yeah, the obviously catch us live as well on the Ultimate Shred I share every week. Yeah, apart from that, just as Saul said, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Looks like our subscriber count went back up again this week, so yeah, it looks good. Nearly 11,000. So let's get to 11,000. If you're not, if you haven't subscribed, it will be very much appreciated. So thanks for tuning in, and see you next week.
Yeah, we also Soul you can catch Soul on the Ultimate Schmodown show as well. So look
Yep.
forward to watching them talk about the Ultimate Schmodown show, which we're all the fans of. And then you could just find me here. I only live here for the most part, and I sporadically are on other people's channels, but for the most part, my main thoughts are shared here. So if you like what I'm saying, find me here. If you don't, oh well, whatever. Anyway, so that's our show for this week. Thank you, Soul. Thank you, Boggs. Like they've been saying, like, subscribe, comment. Yeah, we're trying to get to at least 11,000. So help us get there. We're slowly but surely kind of ramping back up after our long hiatus, thanks to COVID. So we appreciate the support we've been getting. So let's just keep it going as we continue moving forward into 2021 with a lot more. Hopefully we start doing a lot more trailer reviews as trailers come out. Obviously we're just going to continue doing all the TV shows as they're going to come out every week, so we're going to keep talking about them. So the sports show, we'll see. There's a lot of things that we're talking about that potentially could happen or not happen, that were supposed to happen but not really. So time will tell what we add to our plate, but until then, for Soul, for Boggs, for myself, this was Pop Talk, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.